Take away from this just the fact that these actors who are so gifted, every one of whom I admire so much, trusted me and really was vulnerable and put themselves out there and were beautiful, and I'm grateful, and the fact that they still talk to me, some of them, to me says, it is enough. I guess in terms of the performances, you were talking about the historical stuff. I had a couple of interesting conversations after the movie. Vis-a-vis the characters. I was thinking about what Jason said about his character. And, I showed the movie to Phil Knight, which was a little nervous-making, as you might imagine, before it came out, shortly before it came out. And we hadn't cooperated, we hadn't worked with Nike. I didn't want the appearance or of any influence, or, this was not gonna be something, I didn't think it was appropriate. So we didn't get free stuff or that or all the things, and I didn't know what the reaction would be because we wanted to do a honest story, but also in a way it's a fable. It's about other things, not just about the Nike company. Nonetheless, an interesting thing about Nike and Sonny and Phil and Rob, Jason's character, who's, Rob, the signing of Michael Jordan, the creation of the Air Jordan shoe obviously transformed the Nike company massively, right? So overnight, it was so hugely successful. And as often happens with big success and a lot of money, created a lot of fighting and egos. And Rob left, was hired away by Adidas because he was kind of credited in some part with the Michael Jordan deal. And Sonny, who they were very close, Phil and Rob were the closest. He was the oldest sort of Nike employee. Phil felt a tremendous betrayal at that. And there was a lot of anger. In fact, Rob died a couple of years after that, 46, of a heart attack. And his daughter was at his funeral, and so were thousands of employees. They all wore Hawaiian shirts. He did stick to the Hawaiian shirt thing. And Phil was so angry he didn't want anyone from Nike to go to the funeral. Sonny has left also. There's just been Howard, Chris Tucker's character is still there, as running the Air Jordan brand for Nike, very successfully. He's kind of the pope of Nike, Howard. He's an amazing guy. He helped me quite a bit. When I showed it to them, and I thought, I started up by saying, so it's not all probably, you're gonna have a sense of humor, because it wasn't making it for Nike. And I didn't know how they would feel. And I knew that Phil, was a complicated guy. And, not happy with Rob, and, had a lot of bitterness, I guess, I was told, or there had been a lot of issues. And the movie ended, and I came out, and I said, there was nothing, silence. It was Phil, the chairman of the board, their chief legal counsel, chief marketing officer, his wife, and his son, as well as Howard and the CEO. It was in a movie theater in Portland. They didn't invite me to the campus. I was like, are we going to the Nike? No? AMC? Okay. So when it was over, I came out and said, and Phil was like, I have a couple of notes. Well, it's finished, Phil, so nonetheless, I'd love to hear them. You always love notes at the premiere, by the way. You're sure that's not the time for notes. He said, but that wasn't the first time we had that deal. We had a revenue share. There was a runner in 1981 who had a penny for some complex Byzantine quasi. And I was like, okay, great. I'll make note of that. And I'll be sure to communicate to the press. Say it's fine. And then he started to he couldn't really talk. Excuse me. And he said, it wasn't Sonny. It wasn't Sonny who made the speech. I said, that was Rob. I said, and now I've never heard anyone say this. And he started crying. He said, it was Rob. Rob did it. Rob close to Michael. And he said, we were friends. We were trying to build something. We were friends. And so that's to the point of it not being about the outfit or the look or he was like, sure, some things were different. But he sent me an email on the way up there saying, just so you know, in preparation, no one has ever captured the spirit of Nike appropriately. Okay, great. And he was just moved. He was a guy at the end of his life. I felt, not the end of his life, but I believe in his 80s. It's the last chapter, the time of his life when he's stepped away from the company and looking back on it, and the sense I got, though he didn't articulate this, was that he's looking back on what matters, and he looked with such fondness on that time, as when they were trying to do something and they were friends. And it had become, something great had happened, but it had become chewed up by the conflict subsequently, and then he lost Rob, and was able, because I think what he was afraid of was that people would think it was Rob who signed Michael, who convinced him, and it was Dolores, who was convinced, which they all knew, Howard and everybody else that was, they were like, yep, you got that right. And I talked to Michael after the movie, which was much scarier. So I was like, hey, Mike. And I said, Marlon, George was like, yeah, it was great. He was funny. Yeah, it was good. I was like, okay. So your parents, and what'd you think? And he was like, I liked it. Okay, good. I was like, believe me. And I said, so, in terms of and stuff with, your mom and dad, and he said, yeah, Dave was good. And I was like, and finally I was like, so, what does your mom think? My mom's ecstatic. That was the end of it.